Okay, good morning, everybody. Today we'll be looking at civil military relations. Now, civil military relations is simply the interaction between the armed force of a state and the civilians. It is the interaction, the intersection, or the interconnection between the armed force of a state as an institution and the other sector of the society which it is meant to protect. So it's interaction, I say it again, between the armed force like the army, the navy, the air force, and the civilians. How do they relate? How do they connect? How do they come together? How do we feel when we are sitting and the military officer walks in? That's civil military relations. Now studies all over the world most times shows that civilian control of the military is preferable to military control of civilians. Most people prefer, or most nations prefer, that civilians should control the military and military controlling the civilian. Now, civil military relations, that's CMR, examines the ways society and the military interact and intersect, and it includes topics such as military professionalism, civil military relations and control, method used for the recruitment of military officers, and the rest. Now, as a social science discipline or as a social science study, civil military relations has an interconnection with other social science courses such as political science, sociology, history, economics, anthropology, and the rest of them. Now, civil military relations also, as we know, deals with various issues, deals with a wide range of issues, such as the control of the military professionalism, as I said before, and the military institution as a body. Now, it is international in scope and it involves both state and non-state actors. When we talk about civil military relations, it involves both state and non-state actors. Non-state actors could be organizations, could be individuals. Okay. Now let's go to the origin of civil military relations. Now, civil military relations actually started in the United States of America when social scientists got involved in the war effort in World War II. Now, the military organization discovered that they needed the civilians to do certain things. Okay, they needed technicians, they needed experts in their showrooms and the rest of them. So they needed some persons to do certain things that the military itself could not do. So it brought a kind of interaction between the military and the civilians that existed in the states. Now, the functional role of every civilian leader is to address the whole area of domestic and foreign affairs that the state may face. He addresses foreign and domestic affairs. So, for example, a president, his role is to address issues that affect the state, the issues within the state and issues outside the state. While the role of the military leader is to address issues that affect the military on a daily basis, not the state, but the military on a daily basis. Now, the basis of civil military relations is a dilemma, what Peter Fever called the civil military problematic. It requires a given policy, it requires a given law to balance two concerns. So what you are trying to do is that when you talk about civil military relations, you are trying to balance an issue between two parties, the armed force on one side, the civilians on the other side. Okay? Now, it must create a military establishment to protect the state on one hand, and on the other hand, ensure that the military does not turn on the state. So first of all, it must ensure that there's a military to protect the state. Then it must, on the other hand, it must ensure that the military does not turn on the state that it is established to protect. Now, to ensure this balance, there's always a bargain between these three parties. To ensure this balance, there's a bargain between these three parties: the citizens, the civilian government, and the uniformed military. Now, to have a concrete understanding of civil military relations, there are 5 questions that lie at the heart of civil military bargain at every given time. 5 questions that you must try to answer. Now, number one is, who controls the military and how? Is it the military organization that controls the military, or the civilian leader? Remember, the civilian leader, like the president of the country, is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He's the head of the military. But who really controls the military? When we talk about control of the military, who really controls the military? Is it the military order that obey the law? Is it the military organogram or the military hierarchy? Or the civilian, that's maybe the president or the state government? Who controls the military? We try to answer this question. Like for Praetorian and authoritarian states, the question is usually moot. While for liberal democracies, civilian control are often taken for granted. So we must know who controls the military and how it controls the military. That's one. Number two, what degree of military influence is appropriate for a given society? What degree of military influence is appropriate for a given society? Now, again, we could say, to what extent, I'm arranging the second question in another way. To what extent does or should the military interfere in domestic affairs? Remember, if the military interferes too much in domestic affairs, it could lead to a coup d'etat or Praetorianism. Why, if the military reduces its influence, there could also be a problem. So if it is too much, that's extreme in the form of coup d'etat or Praetorianism, there's a problem. If it is too low, there's also a problem. Okay, so we must try to balance these things. Remember the 5 questions. I said there are 5 questions. Number one, who controls the military and how? Number two, what degree of military influence is appropriate for a given society? Then number three, what is the functional role or the appropriate role of the military in every state? What is the role of the military? This question is actually very wide. You might say it will be simple. The question is, should the role of the military be to sit and wait? Maybe the army now they sit and wait when there's external attack, because they are supposed to protect the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of every nation with their established. Should they just wait for that kind of a situation and attack and fight back nations that want to reach our boundaries? Is it to fight and win the nation's war or engage in constabulary action? Constabulary actions, they are diplomatic actions, okay? Actions that involve diplomatic bargaining, transaction. So the military should, because even now, wars are not that common. Unlike before now. So what should be the role of the military? What should the military be doing? What's the appropriate role of the military? Okay, should the focus be on domestic affairs or foreign affairs? Then the fourth question is, who serves in the military? Who serves in the military? Is military service an obligation of citizens or something else? Is it an ascension? Okay, is the ascension or promotion of officers based on achievement and merit, or it is based on political affiliation, social class, ethnicity, and religion? Because we must learn to balance these things. This is where the interaction comes in. Because if you see in our society today, sorry to say, many West African countries, just like ours, you see that there's political influence even in promotion of military officers. So it is pushing as a rule from merit and achievement. And that's where issues could come from. So who serves in the military? Then the last one is how effective is the military instrument that a given pattern of civil military relation produces? How effective is the military instrument that a given pattern of civil military relation produces? What impact does the society structure have on the military effectiveness? Now the military must ensure the survival of the state. So how effective is the military instrument? Now every civil military pattern projects or proposes a military. Now when we get to the theories of civil military relations, we understand it better. But remember lastly before I go that we must answer 5 questions to understand or to balance the concern between the military and the civilians. The questions are: number one, who controls the military and how? Number two, what role of military, what degree of military influence, is appropriate for a given society? What degree of military influence is appropriate for a given society? Then number three, what are the functional or appropriate roles of the military in a state? What are the roles of the military in a state? Number four, who serves in the military? Then number five, how effective is the military instrument that a given pattern of civil military relation produces? This is lecture one. We'll have lecture two, where we'll look at the lenses through which we can examine these questions. Okay, like the institutional lens and the sociological lens. Then from there we'll proceed to theories of civil military relation. Thank you. I remain Emmanuel Darrell.